The first rays of sunlight struggled to seep through the towering windows of Crestwood High. Students shuffled into the building with heavy steps, their chatter bouncing off the walls as the school stirred awake. It looked like it would be an ordinary day, another rotation of lectures, assignments, and the endless whirl of teenage drama. Yet, inside the chemistry lab on the second floor, something was about to happen. Something unforgettable. A moment that would shatter pride, destroy illusions, and uncover the chilling truth of a woman who appeared ordinary, until she wasn't. Miss Alina Gray had only recently joined the faculty. She wasn't fresh out of college like the usual recruits, nor was she nearing retirement. Mid-30s, perhaps, with eyes sharp enough to silence a room without raising her voice. The students whispered constantly about her. Too stern, too aloof, too mysterious. No one seemed to know her past. She always wore long sleeves, even when the heat pressed against the windows. Her posture was straight as a blade, her expression unreadable, as though she could strip away every secret with a single glance. Rumors bloomed. Some swore she was divorced, others that she lived in solitude. A handful speculated something darker, that she hadn't always been a teacher, that once, she had been someone else entirely. They weren't wrong, but no one yet grasped the truth. And then there was Brandon Cole. Every class has one, the tyrant who thinks the world bends to him. Brandon, the heir of a businessman who practically owned half the city, wore arrogance like armor. Tall, broad, with a grin that carried mockery more than charm. He was accustomed to fear, submission, and teachers who tiptoed around his father's influence. He shoved kids into lockers, cheated without consequence, and sneered when caught, secure in the knowledge that the rules did not apply to him. But Miss Gray was not like the others. She did not flinch at his barbs or falter at his raised voice. She met his mockery with silence, her gaze steady, her composure unshaken, and that unnerved him. Brandon despised being reminded that control could slip from his hands. Which is why on a Thursday morning in that chemistry lab, things spiraled. The classroom buzzed with low voices, glass beakers clinking as students pretended to focus on their experiments. The air was heavy with the sharp scent of chemicals. Miss Gray moved among the tables with quiet authority, straightening a burner here, adjusting a measurement there, while Brandon lounged against his desk, arms folded, smirk fixed in place. His friends leaned in, snickering, waiting for the show. "Hey, Miss Gray," he called, his voice carrying easily over the low hum of the room. "Are you sure you're really a teacher? Or just playing dress-up so you can cover rent?" A ripple of nervous laughter passed through the students. Everyone knew Brandon's game. Jab, ridicule, humiliate, until the target cracked. Miss Gray didn't even glance his way. "Focus on your experiment, Brandon. Your solution is overheating." Her calm dismissal cut deeper than an insult. Brandon's grin faltered, his jaw tightening. No one brushed him aside. Teachers usually stammered, scrambled, tried to appease him. But she had simply dismissed him. "Don't tell me what to do," he snapped, his voice loud enough to freeze the room. "You're not my boss. My dad pays your salary." The lab fell silent. A few students smirked behind their hands. Others stared wide-eyed, breath held, waiting. Miss Gray turned at last, her gaze fixing on him. Those eyes, icy merciless, seemed to strip away the shield he wore. Brandon shifted under the weight of it, forcing a grin he no longer felt. "You may believe your father's money rules this school," she said evenly, her words deliberate, each one carrying a razor edge. "But in this classroom, science and discipline rule everything. Sit down." Her words carried a finality that struck Brandon like a blow. For the first time, doubt flickered in his chest, a strange quickening in his pulse he couldn't explain. But pride is venom, and he had drunk too much of it to back down. His friends were watching. The entire class was watching. Retreat wasn't an option. With a sharp motion, he slammed his notebook shut and pushed himself to his feet. "Or what?" he sneered, swaggering closer. "What are you going to do if I don't sit down?" Miss Gray didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. Her reply was measured, unwavering, carrying the kind of authority forged not in classrooms but in harsher places. The subtle edge in her tone made several students instinctively sit straighter. But arrogance blinds. Brandon mistook her composure for weakness. Rage spiked, reckless and raw, and he crossed a line no student should ever cross. He lunged forward, seized her by the throat, and shoved her hard against the counter. The lab erupted in gasps. Chairs screeched as students jumped to their feet. A few fumbled for their phones, hands trembling. For a heartbeat, the room stood frozen, suspended in shock. Brandon's grip tightened, his face twisted in triumph. "What now, huh?" he hissed. "What will you do now?" But then it happened. Miss Gray's eyes didn't widen in fear. They narrowed. And in that instant, something inside her shifted. The quiet teacher disappeared. In her place stood someone far deadlier. Buried instincts surged to the surface. Combat training, discipline, years of survival honed into reflex. Her hand snapped upward, locking around his wrist with unyielding force. Brandon's smirk faltered. Her other hand drove into his elbow, forcing it in a direction it was never meant to go. His face contorted with pain, his grip slackening as a strangled cry escaped his throat. In one seamless motion, she broke free, spun behind him, and wrenched his arm into a brutal hold. His body slammed against the counter with a crack that echoed like thunder. The class was stunned into silence. This wasn't self-defense, it was mastery. Every move carried precision and ferocity no ordinary teacher could possess. Pinned and struggling, Brandon felt her breath against his ear as she spoke, her voice low, cold, and dangerous, yet loud enough for everyone to hear. "You have no idea who you're dealing with," he thrashed, but her hold only tightened. His friends shrank back, too terrified to intervene. For the first time in his life, Brandon Cole was powerless, reduced from predator to prey. "Apologize," she ordered, the words slicing through the silence like a whip. Brandon writhed, his pride screaming louder than his pain. But her grip hardened. "Say it," she repeated, her voice like steel drawn across stone. The bully who had mocked, shoved, and intimidated so many now shook in her grasp. Sweat streaked down his temple. His voice cracked. I'm sorry," he stammered. "I'm sorry." Miss Gray shoved him forward, releasing him. He staggered, clutching his arm, his face pale and humiliated. No one laughed. No one dared. The entire room was paralyzed, caught between awe and fear. She straightened her sleeves with deliberate calm, as though nothing had happened. Her expression was composed, but in her eyes raged a storm no one could begin to fathom. "Class dismissed," she said. No one moved at first. Then slowly, in silence, students gathered their things and filed out, casting uneasy glances between Brandon, broken, shaken, and Miss Gray, who stood with the poise of a soldier at rest. By the end of the day, whispers spread like wildfire. The teacher wasn't just a teacher. She was something else, something dangerous. Brandon Cole, the boy who thought himself untouchable, had been dismantled before everyone's eyes. Not with threats, but with ruthless, undeniable skill. And deep inside, Brandon knew everything had changed. His arrogance had been shattered forever. Because the rumors were true, Miss Alina Gray's past wasn't ordinary. It was forged in the military, in fire and discipline. And it had just marked him in a way he could never escape.